In today's video, we're gonna talk about steroids. So definitely drop a like on this video because that helps a million times more than you could possibly even think. And if this is your first time seeing me, press that subscribe button and let's get into the video. So there's a few different topics I want to cover about steroids in this video. I want to get into a lot of different things, mainly about what I think about steroids, what I think about people taking them, what I think about competitions in steroids, drug testing, health reasons, and really purposes behind them. And I also want to talk about the misinformation out there that a lot of just regular general people that's not in the fitness industry, their misconceptions about this topic. So honestly guys, if you've watched my channel for a long time, you know my views on steroids are very uncommon, especially as a natural bodybuilder. You would think that I would be against them, but no, I'm actually 100% for them if you use them for a reason or something. I'm not like, yes, I'm not like pro steroid, I'm just like middle. Like I don't really care. I'm not like, yes, you should definitely take steroids, and I just don't really care if you do. When I do care is when someone who isn't natural claims to be natural in order to give themselves more money, more of a following. It can lead to a lot of problems down the road for them as well as their fans. And it's just a very bad thing to do if someone isn't natural but claims natural. So that's the really only thing I don't like about steroids. Everything else I'm perfectly okay with. I don't recommend the use of them. I don't like look up to steroids, but I don't mind them and I understand people's reasonings for using them at certain times. However, what I am perfectly fine with are people that are obviously on steroids, guys. Like you can see these guys and you're just like, yeah, that guy's definitely on steroids. But notice how they don't talk about it. They don't try to claim natural. They never bring up steroids because they know, it's obvious, it's a thing, it's the fitness industry. Like you should expect this to happen. And it's not a problem if the person takes them. And yes, they might look better than other people, which helps them grow the following, but they're not really hurting anyone. I feel like you kind of hurt people a little bit by making them like think you're natural, so you get their hopes up and then they find out you're unnatural and they get unmotivated, and it can actually ruin their results because they're, the person they look up to has to be on these type of drugs. So now they think, oh, I have no chances. And it's very negative in the industry right now. So first off, steroids are illegal. They're illegal in my country as well as many countries that everyone's watching from right now. So a common question is, when should people take steroids, or what should people be taking steroids for? And a lot of people think steroids is just like one injection. It's just like, they picture like a syringe that has the word steroids on it and they shoot themselves with it and that's steroid use. No guys, it's usually multiple drugs taken at different times, different amount of days. Some is every day, some is every other day, some is weekly. And there's different drugs that are classified steroids, not just like one thing. And that's where a lot of people don't understand, which surprised me because that's something I learned early on. Another thing, the general public, most people that are against steroids are misinformed about them. Yes, I don't necessarily agree 100% with the use in professional sports like football, baseball, where it's commonly used, a lot more commonly than people even think. But something about steroids that's always interested me is how people don't know a lot about them, but yet they really are against them. Like, for example, something that a lot of people that are against them won't even think about is if I was taking some type of pro-hormone in pill form, it's actually potentially more dangerous at certain amounts than if I were to inject a similar drug, because the pill has a lot more potential side effects, because in order to actually get the quality to get what you're taking the drug for out of the pill is much harder on your body than to get it from an injection, which is directly into you. So to be honest with you guys, people are scared about the fact that a needle is required, or in some cases, people are afraid, or people are misconstrued by that image in their head of a syringe, when in reality, a syringe is slightly more safe than some of the pill versions. So it's just a general misunderstanding by the public, and it can lead to a lot of people being against steroids, which to me means it's understandable. They're either misinformed or they haven't really looked into it, and it is kind of like an unnecessary thing. Something else a lot of people don't realize is that something like natural bodybuilding, where there's a lot of drug tests, they think, okay, you pass a drug test, you're definitely not on steroids. A lot of people that get accused of steroids take these drug tests and they're like, see, look, I'm not on steroids. And yet they can still be. Passing a drug test doesn't mean anything. There are so many ways around every single possible drug test, and you can always get around them. There's people that fail drug tests. There's people that pass them that are definitely not natural. And I'm not naming any names here or anything. I really can't even think of any off the top of my head. That's probably another negative thing when it comes to lying, is that people that compete naturally can get away with using steroids, which isn't really fair. And you can also compete naturally. I'm not sure about different regulations or different federations or whatever, but I know you can, if you took steroids 5 years ago, but you've been natural for 5 years, you're not gonna fail a drug test. And if it's a polygraph and they ask you about that, there is still ways to get around it. Polygraphs aren't 100%. So there is no way to really tell 100% if someone is on steroids or has ever taken steroids from any test there is. So people that think drug tests are the buy-all or whatever you say, that's saying, that is false. So let's talk about money for a second. I think a lot of people don't understand this topic where I understand it fully. I 100% understand, not agree with, but understand a professional athlete's decision to have the use of steroids if they're in something like professional baseball or football. I can understand why they did it. Yes, it's unfair. Yes, it's it's messed up. It's mean. It's not a friendly thing to do. But believe it or not, guys, the media, when they find that someone is on steroids, the media blows it up and they make it look like that's the only person doing it. They got caught, he must be the only one, let's bash his name. When in reality, I'm sure there's at least a few players on each team that are doing it. Like, it's way more common than people think. You have to understand the way I look at things, and it's a little bit more of an extreme standpoint. I'm like an extremist. Like, I'm either like all the way one way or not at all in most things, and this is one of them. And that's when it comes into money. When you're talking about making the difference of a regular like minor league baseball amount of money and probably having a job just to be able to survive, or making millions of dollars per year, and all it takes is you to do something that's a little reckless in order for you to kind of make yourself stand out, become a better athlete, hit some more home runs, become stronger to tackle people, or whatever the case may be. If you're talking millions of dollars, most people are gonna do that. Because you only live one life. You have one opportunity to do as much as you can. And I talked about this in a motivational video before, but this same thing applies. You're only gonna live once, and you can get to a level, you're almost there, you can get to that level, but you just need that little bit of a push. You just need something to make yourself stand out more, to get more recognized, to become better, and to become better than your competition. You're gonna do it. Most people are gonna do it. And I understand the use of it because, they're the best athletes in the world. Them not taking steroids is almost a bad business move. Why would you not take steroids if you can become a better athlete, which in return would give you more money and you would have a better life? Now, here's the thing, a lot of people say, yeah, but you're gonna live a shorter life, you're not gonna be as healthy. First of all, you don't always know that. Steroids don't necessarily equate to a shorter lifespan directly. Yes, there are side effects, and if you don't do anything about them, you'll have a lot of issues for sure. Sometimes people take steroids and they get out of them perfectly fine. But sometimes another way that I also have the same view, not for this topic, but I also have the same view, that if I'm gonna live 5 years shorter of a life, but I'm gonna get a way better final 20 years of that life, I'm gonna take it. Because you can live to be 80 and you could have an average life, or you can live to be 70 or whatever, but have an awesome life, making millions of dollars, professional sports. And this isn't the case, right? This is the case for like 0.000000001% of steroid users. But if you understand what I'm saying by that, is that it's about quality over quantity when it comes to years in some people's eyes. And I think that's huge. And they probably find like a nice midpoint. They realize that yes, there's probably gonna be some side effects, but I'll also be making the money to deal with them, hopefully. There are some things that a lot of steroid users don't even realize they have the side effects until it's too late, like infertility. They won't know until they go and try to have kids, and all of a sudden they're like, why am I having issues? And they get a test done, and boom, they realize that year that they took steroids that didn't really pay off for them, ruined their life. So now they can't even have kids. And when I say this, and I sound confident just because it's the way I talk, but I'm not condoning steroids. I don't agree with these athletes. I just simply understand their reasoning. And I think if you open your eyes a little bit more, I think instead of bashing these athletes, we should really just look at it as like they weren't dumb for taking steroids, they were dumb for getting caught. Because there's so many people on them, like most likely, you watching right now, if you don't really, you're not in the fitness industry, you don't compete, you don't like follow these guys like I do, you don't even probably understand, and you think steroids are so uncommon. Because I talk to friends that aren't like into working out, and like I'll tell them like, yeah, like that guy's on steroids. They're like, what? Like, oh my gosh. And to me it's funny because like, yeah, like a lot of people on steroids don't know there's high doses, there's low doses. You can take it just a little bit just to get a slight bit edge, so you look impressive but not obvious on steroids. I can probably say that every single person watching this right now, the gym you go to has at least one person on steroids. Guys, I've been, in the past like 3 years that I've worked out very seriously, I've seen at least a dozen people shoot up in the bathroom, in the men's locker room, at various gyms. Like at least a dozen. And that's just me walking in and stumbling and running into them. Like, it's not like I have a camera in there and I'm waiting every day. So you can only imagine if I'm just walking in and I see someone doing it, that's just a short time frame throughout the day. There's probably dozens of people at each gym doing it, depending on how big the gym is. It's way more common than people think, but people are good at hiding. One important thing I think is to realize when it is okay to take steroids and when you're an idiot for doing so. Now, I understand, everyone, it's their own life, you have your own decisions you want to make. If you want to go on steroids for no reason but just to look good and feel good about yourself, you know, I understand it. Like, I get it, I'm not against it at all, but I think you should strongly consider not taking steroids unless you have a reason. Competing. If you're competing, and I don't agree with the natural guys taking drugs and trying to get away with it. I agree with if you're gonna take drugs, compete in the NPC or something where they don't drug test. If you're gonna do that, I understand, but don't do it unless you plan on making a career out of it. There's no point in taking steroids to compete twice and realize you don't want to compete anymore. If you want to become an iifym pro, you're going to have to take steroids. So if you're competing and you decide to take steroids, okay, I'm like 50-50 with it. But if you're competing with the idea of going pro, then yes, I agree with your choice to use steroids because you cannot go pro without them. Here's the thing, what I hate the most is when someone says like, oh my gosh, he's on steroids, and they think that they don't put in as much work. All steroids do, guys, is, I mean, they're amazing, don't get me wrong, they're gonna help people out a ton, but they are going to drastically lower your recovery time so you can consistently work out like crazy and still continue to get results. The average person, they go to the gym and they train chest for 4 hours, and then the next day they try to do another chest workout, they're not going to be able to gain muscle from it because they didn't give enough time to recover, to regrow the muscle fibers. But if a person that's on proper steroids and are doing things calculated, they can actually still get results from it. So it gives them more opportunity to grow and to grow a little bit quicker. So don't necessarily look at people that take steroids as worse than someone who doesn't. Just look at them as different. I don't look up to it as much just because I realize it's not necessary. And when I mean not necessary, guys, I mean people jump into the gym and then the next week they're on steroids in a lot of cases. And it's really sad because you don't even know a lot about working out or dieting at all, and yet you're taking drugs that usually you should only take if you've reached your natural potential but still want to continue making progress, which is my opinion the only time anyone should ever really take steroids recreationally is if they've been working out for 8 to 10 years and then they finally reach the point where it's almost like impossible for them to notice any differences when trying to get results. So they decide to take something that can give them results again. That way they continue working out and doing what they love. Until you get to that point, I don't really understand your use for steroids recreationally, meaning not taken for any sort of competitive reason. So that's kind of my viewpoint on that. Now, let's be real here, guys. At the end of the day, your health is the most important thing. It's not about how you look, it's about how long you live and how you feel. And yes, you can argue what I talked about before, you know, what about if I just live slightly shorter but I live a much better life because steroids allow me to give myself a noticeable physique in the fitness industry. I believe that is kind of true, but I also believe the fitness industry is kind of transitioning into being more about, you know, realism and people being like straight up and real with you about, you know, their progress. And it's not always about your looks. Believe it or not, the biggest people in the fitness industry probably don't even have the best physique in the fitness industry. They just have a great way of going about things. They're super positive, they're super motivating, they're very relatable. And I think now in the fitness industry, if you're more relatable, you'll actually do better than the people that are just super impressive. So taking steroids right now is more unneeded than it ever was before. If you go back to Arnold's day, when steroids were still legal, you kind of needed them to make yourself in the fitness industry because really the only ones in the fitness industry were fitness models, professional bodybuilders. That was the only thing. And now it's branched off to YouTubers, vloggers, and there's people making millions of dollars a year fitness vlogging. Like, crazy stuff, guys. You don't need steroids ever, but if you want to take steroids, take them safely. I don't recommend the usage of them. I don't think anyone truly needs them, and I really think that a lot of the general public's ideas about steroids and the way they see them is turned the wrong way, but there's no reason to change it, because there's no reason to shine a positive light on something like steroids, because it just leads to a lot of bad things. When people that make a lot of mistakes, people that shouldn't be taking steroids, they don't have the right mindset when going on to them. It's like putting something in the wrong hands, and it can't really go well for a lot of people. But I'm not specifically against anyone on steroids. I'm not against them, and I'm not for them. I just simply look at the topic, I try to look at it from both sides, and I can understand some things, I can't understand some things, but I don't recommend anyone to ever use them. 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, your whole entire passion about something can change. You could take steroids, and then 10 years from now, you could not even want anything to do with fitness. Right now, you could be like, I want to be the next Ronnie Coleman. And then 10 years from now, you might want to be a Chick-fil-A franchise owner. Like, you have no idea what you could be 10 years from now. So if you take steroids now, just be safe about them. Even if you do, it doesn't mean anything's gonna happen to you. It just means that you have a higher chance of something to happen to you. So be careful, guys. And that's pretty much gonna conclude this topic. All I can hope for this video is that you guys understand my reasoning, and even if you don't agree with me, I hope I can add some type of value to the discussion, and I look forward to talking with you in the comments. This video isn't meant to be negative towards anyone or anything, and all of my views are just thoughts and based off of studies or just what I've witnessed. So don't think anything is just like what I say is the only answer. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, my intentions are only good for this, and I hope that I can help some people out that are wanting to learn about steroids, or they're curious about people's reasons for taking them and stuff like that. But I don't mean to offend anyone, and I don't recommend the use of them. Anytime you put the word steroid in a video, people just automatically think it's like a negative thing. You're either calling someone out, or you're bashing something, or you're praising something. And it's not like that at all. We're just simply having a discussion here, nothing more, nothing less. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like, and I'll see you in the comments.